In April they did. When,
I saw something just.
I know. My sister was in town, so my father wanted her to put that picture up. So I haven't had the opportunity yet, but
All right, guys.
I'm gonna say, Dad, is this?
I'm gonna let you take it away now.
Okay, so we're all set?
Give me about 10 more seconds and I'll tell you to start. Okay, you're all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Chris.
good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Orange Board of Finance. Today's Monday, July 20th. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. And in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting will be held remotely with no in-person attendance. The meeting will be broadcast live on OGAT. As in the past, I know I don't have it ready, but if there's any questions, they can be emailed to jcifarelli@orangect.gov. And that will be forwarded to us during the meeting if anybody has any questions while watching this live. Item number 2 is our introductions. I will, since we're all over different screens with the Brady Bunch here, I'll introduce everyone the way I see it. Pat Romano, PJ Shanley, Deb Satonic, our recording secretary, Kevin Moffitt, James Leahy, John Cifarelli, our director of finance, and Bob Britton, our town engineer, is with us. What I'd like to do now is I want to add an agenda item. I guess we'd put it at number 9 and move 9 to 10 and 10 to 11. And that would be to discuss the replacement of police armor kits. If we could do that, if I could have a motion to add that to the agenda this evening, that would be wonderful.
Sure,
I'll make
let's
that
do
motion.
that.
I'll second it.
Second by Pat. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Okay, so
Hey, Kev,
yes,
since Bob's here, he's at agenda number 9.
that was my next one, Jim. Yeah, I was gonna move 9 to number 3,
All good.
if that's okay, but thank you. So
Yeah.
I'll make that
Jim,
motion.
that would be our next thing since Bob's here, so we don't have him sitting on sitting there for an hour or more. Is there a motion to move item number 8 to item number 3?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, so then we'll go to the new item number 3, and I will screw this up later in the evening, but so far so good. Request to fund sprinkler system conversion at Silverbrook 2 from our town engineer, Mr. Britton. So Bob or John, whoever.
Okay. This was on the list of capital items during the budget season. It was actually number 1 on everybody's list.
Yes.
Little history over there. About 3 years ago, we had a flood during the winter. The pipes, the sprinkler system pipes up in the attic of floor 2 froze. And we had, I believe, almost $500,000 worth of damage over there. We had to move some of the tenants out into hotels for a while and so forth and so on. The last winter system, Karma, who was our insurance carrier at the time with Hartford steam boiler, put in some temperature gauges over there in the attic. If the temperature fell below 32 degrees, they would call us and warn us. They did that over there, and they did that at Peck Place School, because those were 2 spots where we had big insurance claims over the last few years. Behold, even though we didn't have a too bad winter, in December, I believe it is, the temperature gauges went off in the attic over there because temperature fell below 32 degrees, which would have meant the pipes would have froze. So what Bob had to do, he had to bring in temporary heat for the rest of the winter over there. When the temperature got down below 32, the heat kicked on, or I think John Stewart had to go over and kick it on. And that cost about $5,000 a month, I believe it was. So Bob went out and got an engineer to try and solve the problem, and hence we are with the solution to the problem.
Yeah, hopefully you guys looked over that report that the engineering firm came up with. All of the three solutions will work. And the one we're recommending is the least cost one, and it also has the least impact on the residents. Insulating the roof of the the top of the attic would basically bring the attic into the warmed area. The problem is the biggest issue there is that'd be a great thing to do in a new building, but the spray foam is toxic when it goes in, and if you have it done in your house, they'll tell you just get out. But we have, there's 45 apartments there, elderly, so that the logistics of that were somewhat difficult. And
That's
it was-
option one, Bob.
Pardon me?
That's option one you're summarizing for us here.
Yeah, I missed a couple of the words.
Okay. What you just summarized, is that option one?
Let's see.
With the cell phone, I think it would be.
There's option 1, there's option 2 and 3 on page 6.
Insulate the attic is option one.
Okay,
Option
that's
two.
fine. Maybe what you could do would help me is as you start talking about options, just say what no option it is so that it'll just help.
Sure. Yep, and then, so the option two, this engineering firm, I felt that they could basically convert the existing piping with some modifications to a dry system. There are dry sprinklers in the attic for the attic area itself, but the ones that serve the second floor, they run in the attic, but they have water in them. So assuming this is feasible, this would be the lowest cost solution. The workers would have to go into the units, but it's pretty basically to change the sprinkler heads.
Right.
Option three was, which it came up with, was just install a wet system down in the second floor. It would be put up kind of up by the ceiling over in that little corner, run around rooms, and then they would cover it, so you wouldn't see the pipes. And that was kind of an intermediate cost. The impact to the residents would be they would have to be out of their unit for about 1 day, and they'd do 1 unit a day. So we're looking for some money so we could try to get this implemented. As John mentioned, we were extremely lucky the last 2 years, particularly last winter with the temperatures so warm. But even with that, the pipes dropped to 32 degrees or below, in the middle of the night. And unlike Peck Place School, that this program was set up for, they would say, "Oh, you better go check the heat and turn it on," but there wasn't that much we could do about it. So if we have another winter that comes up where you get a couple of, nights in the teens and it doesn't warm up too much, I'm afraid we're going to have another break.
Hey, Bob, just a question because I don't know much about this at all. Obviously, the dry pipe system is just as effective in a fire situation as the wet.
Yeah, I had never heard of one before we got involved in this anyway. So dry pipe means it's full of they're talking about using nitrogen gas. So when the sprinkler head opens, the gas gets pushed out, and then it allows the water to rush in and fill the pipes. So the water, when it sprays it out, it will be water. It's just there'll be a little bit of a delay until the oxygen or nitrogen, whatever it's filled with, comes out.
Okay.
PJ, also the fire marshal would have to approve this system before it goes in over there.
Okay.
Talking about about number 2, John?
Yeah, whatever, yes.
Any-
Any of them that we do, the fire marshal would have to approve of.
Okay, so
I
Bob,
mean, we can't do anything over there that would jeopardize anybody's lives.
right as rain. So you're recommending option 2, Bob. And John, I guess this dovetails with transfers, which we'll do later.
Yeah, I sat down with the first selectman, the items that I gave you tonight, he's in full support of.
Right, we'll talk about that later, but for this item here, Bob, it's not only the lowest cost, is it as technically proficient as the others?
Well, like I said, the existing, we have an existing dry system that protects the attic. It's a very common thing that's done. There is more maintenance with the dry systems, and they're a little more complicated. So if you could get away with a wet system, you know, you would. It's just they're only put in this kind of situation where you might have freezing.
Okay, so when you say the words more, you might have more maintenance, could we put some quantifiers like numbers into what would be a probability of the might and the cost of the more maintenance on
I
a,
don't have the numbers, but yeah, probably not might. I think the inspection and maintenance, there's like quarterly testing that has to go on. So the technician has, not me.
not my phone.
So yeah, I don't have the exact difference, but I can get that for you if you want.
Well, just over a year, what's it, a grand a year? Grant, or 2 days? I mean, what do we got?
I'm guessing it couldn't be more than the difference in the inspection and maintenance is probably in the, you know, $1,000 to $2,000 range
Per year?
per year. Yeah. That's just
Thank
a
you.
guess.
Yeah, I have a brief question. When we had the original incident when the pipes froze, was there any insurance coverage on that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. But we were warned that if it happened again, they were gonna ask a lot of questions before they paid off.
So
Did they
so
pay-
we got money from the insurance company for that?
Yes.
I
I'm
think
just
they
wondering if
actually-
that could go, whatever program we pick, if that could go towards that.
It was used to fix everything up over there.
Oh, okay, okay. All right.
But people had to move to hotels, I believe, for
Ah.
a number of days, if not weeks.
Okay,
Do we pay for that when they have to move to hotels, John?
The insurance company did, I think.
Sure.
Well, the insurance company eventually did, yes.
Okay.
We paid in the beginning, I believe.
and then, to kind of the Jim's point, we would have to put in, or somebody would have to put in, annually, put in a maintenance fee, you know, what it would be cost to check that out every year.
Mhm.
And that would, I don't know if that'd be the
That's-
fire marshal or
No, that would come out of Bob's budget, but we do that now, even
anyway,
with the
okay.
sprinkler systems we have, those are I think quarterly, aren't they, Bob? Check
Yep.
quarterly?
Yeah, okay. Just checking. Thank you.
Sure.
We asked Kevin, just to go a little further on the sprinkler systems and fire alarm systems and burglar alarm systems in the building. Those are all on maintenance contracts, quarterly,
Right.
quarterly paid.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, are you looking for a motion at this point?
And my only question is the write-up done back in January that was also part of the capital plan when we met in February is for 162.5 and the transfers for 160 and the capital. Should it be 162.5, John, or is 160 enough?
I'm sure we could find the $2,500 if he needs it.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, John, when you sent out materials to the team, you sent out, I don't know if I would call it a Ralph Oakenquist list, but it wasn't the Excel file that we created that day.
No, I couldn't find that, Jim.
Oh, you should have called me. But anyway, I'm looking at it. But one of the notes I made, doesn't make it right, but it is a note I made. And I don't want to flip over to my screen for this little thing. I remember typing in possible low SIF project.
Yeah, I could tell you right now, possible LoSiP project was named for about 5 different things on that capital list. And the first select and I talked about it last week, and we think we're going to use the LoSiP funds for item 11. And that'll wipe out our LoSiP funds.
Item 11 being the steam pipes.
Steam pipes, yeah.
Yes. That's becoming, I think, quite a problem down there.
That was the other possible LoSiP project that I had documented that day. So
There were a few of them. Tennis courts.
Okay. I don't want to get
What some of the other ones were, but there were about 5 that kept being mentioned when they were having their capital meetings. I kept telling them there's not that kind of money there for all that.
Yeah. Understand the point and the background information.
And after what we're going through, there may not be any money coming from the state for a while.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so do we still need a motion? Do we already have it? Where do we?
No, we don't. The thing I want to talk about is the motion to go forward with this goes along with the memo
Yeah.
on the transfers.
Right.
And so those are
Okay.
3 accounts to transfer the money out of. But with everything going on, and we could address the other 2 above it later, but this one being the biggest amount at 160, instead of pulling it out of those accounts,
Kevin, now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that one on the big screen here. Okay. I have it right here. Okay. It's the bottom one here, team. It's the, whoops. It's the 80, 45, 30. And where Kevin and I will be going with this conversation for us to discuss is not so much the money, but if you go to the top of the page, where you say, if you choose the capital items, the first selectman and I, this is a memo from John, recommend, I would suggest funding these items from the surpluses. And that's where we want to have a discussion right now.
yeah, on this one particularly, I would be more inclined of taking it out of our capital fund. Because that's money that is designated for capital, and should we have, God knows what happened in the next couple of months, we can't pull money out of that fund for town expenses. So if we have a surplus in these accounts, I'd like to leave this 160 in those accounts, let it roll forward, or be encumbered for something else that John might have a need for. But I would just, this amount I would rather see come out of our capital fund. But that's up for discussion.
Do we want to add verbiage to the motion regarding just the service contract to making sure that it's not some exorbitant amount? As long as it's not cost prohibitive from a service standpoint.
Well, I think that's going to be a big deal, PJ. But we could fund 160 or 162.5. The issue I think Kevin is bringing up, I don't know if I'm understanding it right, but I thought I did in my head anyway, was that we would be taking the money not out of surplus. But
No, this is separate from that, Jim. Because unless I didn't hear Bob correctly, I don't think he knew what the service costs were going to be.
That's correct. I don't know exactly what the
okay, so the
difference
motion
between
would be 162.5 plus service costs would come out of the capital account. That would be the framework of the motion, PJ, you think?
No, I would leave the
Oh, I see.
motion at the 162. The service cost is going to be in a maintenance contract, which will be
Yeah,
in the
right.
operating budget.
I guess here's what I'm worried about. We agree to option 2, and then we find out the service contract is some ridiculous number, and then we regret agreeing to number 2, and we should have gone with another option. Should we see what the servicing numbers are?
Well, that's what I asked Bob, and he said he was pretty confident. I heard him, as the expert in the town, say, I read his body language, I heard his words, and I thought he was saying it was kind of a no big deal. It's not going to be $10,000. It's only, maybe 1,000, maybe less. That's what
Oh, I
I
thought it was 22,000.
interpreted his words. Peace. I may not be right.
Yeah, that number should be able to be identified pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I would think, by whoever the original vendor or whatever the original quote came from. I think they should be able to verify that pretty quickly.
Yeah, we could, we
So
could find out.
before you go ahead with it, as long as we know, what the number is, then, then we can proceed. But I agree with, I kind of think it would be kind of on the low side if it's an annual thing like that.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the question I was answering is what's the difference between what we pay for the wet pipe system, that inspection and maintenance, and doing the additional amount that you need for the dry system because there's some control valves and things like that. And it was really just a guess, but it's not going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to inspect it, but
No, I don't think that much.
a little bit more, But I have to admit, I don't know the exact number.
So where does that let us stand, Kevin, in terms of what we need to do tonight? We can't do anything because we don't, on a $160,000 contract, we $1,000 or $2,000. Is that what we're in the mud on that?
Because I think we need to move forward, and this has to be, I don't know how long it takes to finish this job. But it
Well,
certainly has to be.
it's gonna have to go up. The plans are gonna have to be drawn up, actual plans, and then it's gotta go out to bid. So you're talking about it's gonna take a while to get this done.
well,
I don't-
the reality is we have to do something anyway, and there will be maintenance costs associated with anything that we do, plus or minus what this will be. And since this seems to be the best and is coming in at the lowest price, I think we should proceed with, with voting on this tonight.
I agree with you. I agree with Jim too. I don't think the maintenance contract is gonna be more than a couple of $1,000,
Yeah.
if that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
the
think it's a make or break.
That's fine. then.
contracts to do the buildings now we have are more than $1,000. So if it doubles, you're talking about $2,000.
That's
John, you
fine.
could sneak that into the project contingency bucket for God's sakes.
I'm not worried about it, Jim. It's
Yeah, I'm in.
petty.
but I want to make sure PJ's questions, he's good with it. So
Yeah,
that we make a motion. say,
2,000 versus 22,000. At some point, if it's much, much, much higher, all I was saying was we might want to consider one of the other options, which costs more now, but over time will save us money.
Well, yeah, but
Eligible number.
Well,
That's
option one, we were already told we can't do because of
Right.
that, the whole way the process works. And so that one's out. They quoted it, so it would be between 2 and 3.
I didn't say you couldn't do it. It seemed like the most complicated with logistics, but anything.
Right. But those would still have maintenance contracts.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, any
That's
of them,
that's my
any of
point.
them will have a maintenance contract.
I'm fine. Let's go ahead.
I defer to the engineer. But now, how does everybody feel about taking it directly out of the capital fund versus the line items John has listed?
I agree with your concerns, Kevin, and I think it's smart.
Yeah, I agree as well.
it makes sense.
right.
Hey,
Well, if
one
everybody's
thing-
good- I'm
one
ready to
thing,
make a motion here. Oh, no.
hold it, just let me say one thing before you do that. This money won't be in this budget anymore, because when the audit comes in and starts doing that, it'll flow into our fund balance. So if we need this money later, it'll be coming out of fund balance. It
Right.
won't be coming out of this budget, just as long as everybody understands that. I'm
Understood.
fine with that otherwise.
No, I'm just more concerned about what we have a capital fund that we can take that has money in it, and we can take money out of it for an item like this. This is clearly a major capital project. If we encumber this year's budget, some of that money, so we show a different surplus, but then that money's not in the general fund gives us the most flexibility for everything,
Right,
not knowing what the next 6 or 12 months is going to look like.
correct.
I'd rather let 160 drop down to the fund balance and take this 160 out of the capital fund. That's my preference. So
I agree with Kevin.
Agree, yeah, as do I.
Okay, if you guys are good, let's throw together a motion. I don't care who makes it, but we're gonna support option 2, 160, 162.5, whatever you want. And the money's gonna come from the capital account. So I'll be happy to make the motion, let somebody else make the motion, but I want to make sure everybody's had their say so that we stay together as a team.
I think that's perfect, Jim.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jim, and make the motion.
Okay, that was my motion.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'll
Okay,
second.
what was the
second that.
dollar amount though?
162.5,
Okay,
but just as written, which is a little different from your memo, but
no, that's fine.
that
You
gives.
don't spend it, it stays in the
1 year's
capital
worth of
fund.
maintenance, maybe 2.
Okay, so there's a motion by Jim. Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Pat. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in
No.
favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you for moving that matter up on the agenda.
Thanks,
for
Bob. Have a
coming
good
tonight,
night,
Bob.
sir. Okay. Item number 3. We don't have Mr. Nuzzo, but
Oh, I could provide one of those.
Amity update, Jim?
Yeah. Well, how to be brief. I pulled up a document. I'll share it here. I think you've seen it before. Have you guys seen this document?
Yeah.
It's called, get you guys out of the way so I can see it. Sorry. I'm gonna move it to 100% and then or 75%. Okay, so in June, I spent 2 days going over all the, a recap of the bidding, right? May, we were asked to give input to the Amity budget. One of the things we created was a commentary that said, here's our thoughts on the Amity budget for next year, which they passed at 2.49%. In addition, the members of this team created questions about this year's current budget, which is embedded in this document here. It turns out that on the first Monday in June, the 8th, or second Monday in June, Joe went to a meeting at which this document was presented, but had not been distributed before the meeting. Now think about that. You go into a meeting being asked to vote on whether or not you want to use $1.5 million of what we would call surplus in the Amity budget, and you had not seen this document before you showed up. And you have 45 minutes to go through it all, discuss every one of these items, and then vote on whether or not the Amity Finance Committee was going to support the spending of that money. To make sure I understood what happened at that meeting, because Joe reported out when we met in June, I went back and watched the entire meeting. and I took notes. Then I went back and I looked through all the Excel files since January, all the Word documents from January. You guys get them forwarded to you, so you know what I'm talking about. Because I was concerned that I wasn't getting apples to apples here, okay? So what I will go through is make sure you and anybody at home can understand what happened at Amity at this particular meeting in June and where they stand now. They closed on March 13th. They remained closed, well, till now. They then found that they had a surplus, they call it fund balance, of $559,247 at the end of February. But by the end of the year, they had 2.8 million, 871,307. Before the 1,735,331 in purchases and reserve transactions, which they were then to present. Now, those of us who make presentations for a living might say, it's funny you're putting that in before showing it, but that's just me. Okay, but if you do that, your end of the year fund balance estimated at that point in time, and for the first time in the history of Amity that I've been involved with, we have never done this at the beginning of June. All right, we always did the end of the year projection of fund balance. Oh, we had to wait till August. And then we said, we got this much money, so we would like to spend it on these things. This was happening in the beginning of June. Form your own judgments as to why. Anyway, you've seen this document, and then what you remember is these are the how come, so they said, we have more surplus than we thought. And then you see a bunch of line items. I'm not going to go through them, but you can see them. If you have questions, I'll do the best I can to respond. But I listened to it all. One might notice that there's a big $858,000, 900 in the medical account that some of us been kind of looking at from the entire year, knowing that last year we had a big surplus. They increased the budget by about 10% for this year. And then they still found out that they had almost $900,000 in surplus. Surprise. Okay. All of which is when they create the budget means we tax our taxpayers more, and then they have a surplus at the end of the year. And there you have it. This is a summary slide. This says that you have that the end of the year surplus of that 2,871,307 was 5.79% of their budget, high for even Amity standards. They went out and surveyed schools, and you can see the data there. The average is 1.75, and then they noticed regional school systems had between 2 and 6%. On the right-hand side in the box, you see that after you spend this money, which we'll see in the next page, all right, on different line items, you still have a surplus of 2.3% of 1,135,976. So the next page is going to say, here's what we want to spend money on. All right. Yes, that does say that they want to spend money on is items that they didn't get in this year's budget, the 2.49%, items cut from the budget request. And what they say is emerging needs. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. You can see the number at the bottom of the page. Kevin, if you're like me, you'll notice that the total of 1,498,223 didn't match that 1,000,007 number from the earlier pages. And a note out there to anyone who doesn't use Excel, if you add in the 257,008 and the number at the bottom of the page, 1,498,223, it doesn't sum exactly to the number on the other page either. So you might want to remember that for using Excel rather than punching them in longhand. So items from the end of the year budget, infrastructure, teacher devices. What they're doing there is pulling another year of teacher devices in. PPE, masks maybe. Thermal cameras, that would seem to be a good idea the more I learned about it and listened to the discussion. some software. The medical reserve one, of all these items that they eventually at the Amity Finance Committee, this one was voted down by the Amity Finance Committee. All right, the medical reserve. And what they wanted to do there was take their medical reserve from 25%. Remember, it was 20, and we were told we were going to go up 0.5% a year for 10 years to get to 25. And then magically 1 year we had a lot of surplus, so we up to 25. Well, boom, now we're up to 30. You can create rationales, I guess, any way you want these days. Second wave, people have been deferring activity. It wasn't bought by the Amity Finance Committee, but eventually when these items went into the Amity whole Board of Education, that one was also approved. You can go in and learn about the cafeteria needing 100 grand. They had to pay for unemployment, 101,000. And the one item that has yet to be voted on is in an upcoming meeting, perhaps even August. Remember, we tried to get them to not using August as a meeting for a $500,000 use of taxpayer money, but it'll either be in August or September, or October, creating this 1% capital reserve. Vinnie Marino, town attorney, does not believe that they have the authorization to use surplus money to place into a capital reserve, that you have to put that via budgeted money, but that's for a song for another day. But that's what you want to have, what you have on this page. And that's what you got. So that's what they did. The Amity Board of Education approved all of these purchases. And that's what I can tell you about an Amity update.
Jim, not to belabor it, but I think when we went through this during our own budget in May, while they added these certain devices and certain infrastructure for the computers, they didn't change their prior budget. So it seems like there's extra money for technology in there, but that's just.
I think
my
if
2
anything,
cents.
Kev, what they might be doing is trying to pull that forward from future years. If I remember right, I'm thinking of a $1.5 million number. It was like 300,000. So
Yeah, you're right.
For 5 years, yep.
yeah, that's what I remember, but
Okay, so that-
and it's the same thing that you have teacher devices here, this 132,000. What they decided to do was the original budget, grades 9 and 10, right? Now they're saying, whoop, we got money. Okay, now we'll do 11 right now, right? And, who knows? God bless. But this is where we stand right now. So that's the fairest thing to do, is say that's the update, I think.
And John, what did we budget this year? 300,000?
300,000.
So with the 1135, we're still going to be at 550, give or take.
Yep.
And it should be more because that 495 shouldn't be there, but that'll be, like Jim said, a meeting in August or somewhere down the road up there.
Well, that gets into the whole, what the state is mandating. I'm hearing stuff like 3 masks a day per student. God bless America. A certain type of mask, costly, $500,000 total. I heard this from Chris Brow. And my response to Chris is, great, you've got 51.5 million, figure it out.
Okay, great. Any questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim.
All right, I'll stop sharing. Thank you.
Item number 5, previous number 4. It's you again, sir, the vice chairman's report.
Well, I don't think we're supposed to talk about the fire truck thing, so unless you want me to tell everybody, you direct me.
I think we have to be careful because, there's other groups that probably want us, but I think with all the work you've done and everything, some sort of update would be, I think, welcomed.
Okay. Best way to do that. Well, here, we'll start by sharing. It's pretty simple. You go to the GoFundMe page, which is up here.
There you go.
Fire truck challenge. And it'll pop up. 139 people, and a shout out to John Neary, he gave $100 and 4 minutes ago. So those of you just watching at home, here's all you have to do. All you have to do is go into the Orangetown website, and what you see there is a button. And there's that button right there on the left. All right. By the way, the website creator that creates this for towns across the country, Rick Roberts, who's just been beyond special in marketing and communication support, working with me and the fire chief on Dumas. We had a little bit we wanted to get a button up there, right there. So, and so we had to go and, we can't spend any money. All we're doing in this marketing, we haven't spent a cent of anybody's money other than our own. And that firm finally figured out that putting a button up there for not just the town of Orange was a major product feature that they hadn't thought of before, that me and Rick came up with. Good. Give it no consulting fee from us. But all you have to do up there is just click on that, click to donate. It brings you right to this page, which is what we just saw. And all you have to do to donate, if you want to do that, is and as you can see, we're at 33,000. All right. We do have checks also coming in. So we're well on our way to the $50,000 number. I don't want to get into the details, but you guys do get my weekly update that is late today on Monday, but will be done soon. But here's the story we have. And I hope Rocky's watching, because I would like to have, this is what I see. And I truly believe this. Small unit of population, happens to be called Orange, Connecticut. Happens to have a situation, it's as a result of this thing called COVID, but it could have been anything that caused a situation that they had to handle. And the way they are handling it is to lift themselves up by the bootstraps and say, how do we plug the gap of basically $120,000 gap in a $400,000 budget of a volunteer fire department that basically it's the biggest deal in town. I think we all know that. And I have learned that from doing this work and working with the people in the fire department, these are characters, these are professional people, mothers, kids that went to Amity, couldn't wait for their last one to graduate so she could become a firefighter. I won't use the names until she agrees, but boy, I was very impressed with these people. And here they're doing it to save our homes, to save our businesses. So we're asking people to contribute because it's a one-year thing. We lost the carnival. The fire is not on our home, or the smoke is not on our home. It's on their operating revenue, and it's for everybody to help. That's the story. That's what we're doing. It's easy to donate. You just go to the town website, and we do have some events coming up this week. I don't know if we should go into that, Kevin. I suspect not. But they are down at the Orange Ale House on Friday night. 8 from 5.
And there's a golf one too, I believe.
But think about this. Think about this. If you ever go to the Orange Ale House in the next year, here's your deal Friday night. Here's the deal. You give $25 to this fund. Jimmy Hassemeyer gives you $30 in store credit at the Orange Ale House. Lose. And that's a great deal. 5 to 9 this Friday night. Entertainment, no cover charge, as they say. There's no cover charge. And it's a good deal. And it's going to be good weather. Second one is Saturday and Sunday. There is a place right next to the Christmas tree shop, right next to the Yankee Candle shop there, called Golf Lounge 18. It's an indoor thing, and they have professional equipment. I was down there today, kind of like we always say, we want to have flawless operations, right? How is it going to work? And we talked it all through. But they are going to, you get 3 shots, PJ, 3 shots, and closest to the pin, okay? 157-yard hole, par 3. And it's technology that the pros use to perfect their swing. They got meters and speeds and all this stuff. But you see in front of you as you hit the ball, a real ball, a visual of where it's going and how close it bounces up and gets on the green, how close it gets. Closest to the pin wins. And I want to thank particularly Orange Hills Country Club for stepping up and doing the majority of the prizes, along with Golf Lounge 18 that is sponsoring the event and doing some of the prizes. Saturday, Sunday, 11 to 7, 3 shots, $5. Want to do $10, you get 6 shots. It's all good. And we can embarrass ourselves as well to see how poorly, like me, can shoot. So upcoming events. And then the final thing is, this is separate from the raffle. The raffle will be held on August 2nd at 4:30 as originally intended, up at the fairgrounds there. And I'm just going to show you a couple slides, a little advertising. We have here the 2% club. That's $1,000, 2% of a $50,000 target, a gold one and a platinum one. And I just want to advertise what you get for being a gold or platinum or a 2% club member. And what you'll notice is you will be selecting the winners up at that August 2nd, 4:30 a.m. You'll be selecting the grand prize winners of the raffle. And if you gave a platinum, and we have had 2 platinums, right? 2 so far. All right, over here, we've had 2 golds. We've had 14 and another one committed today, by the way. I went and I've been doing the rounds of businesses in towns, picking up checks. It seems like all I need is introductions, and people come in and, okay, Jim, you got to contact this person. Another person contacted me this afternoon before this meeting. I'll sign up for 2%. So it's real good and it's a growing thing. All right. And we're publishing the lists. And I believe the next slide has the list. Platinum is Easton Tech, and Dan Presnick's, I believe it is sister, CM Presnick, have platinum members. The Gregory family, they had an incident at their house over at the west side of Orange near the river, and their house was saved on a Saturday night with the fire coming right up the side of the from the river. They gave $2,500. Rotolo Mechanical, Lori and Ron gave $2,500, and you can see the list. Want to cut a shout out for some of my teammates here, Kevin Moffitt and Pat and Jim Romano, and others that you can read there. And some that just came in over the last couple of days. So pretty exciting time. If you've sent something in and you're not the leadership sponsor level, this is the data I had as of the 19th, but there's a time lag me getting the list of checks from the Orange Volunteer Fire Department treasurer and me, although we're cutting down the lean time on that. But it's exciting, and we're excited about it. And going back to the story. The story is up there, volunteerism in action. Just like the fire department is a volunteer, everybody can be a contributor in this voluntary effort to support them in their time of need. And so it is, in my mind's eye, as we've talked as a team before, this is a call for citizen participation. And what a great story I believe that says, which is why I want to get to Rocky, because his deadline for articles is this Friday. I'll write 3-4 articles, and whoever wants to have names under, I'm fine. But I'd like to get the exposure in the paper so we can get more people excited about it and that sort of thing. You might have seen the team of the Orange firefighters down at the dump Saturday. They took 2-hour shifts, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 2, 2 to 4. You guys know that's when we go do campaigning. It was down the dump, and they were down there putting out flyers about this and the events coming up this week. And it was really good for my spirit to see that kind of participation from them on very short notice. So that's my report out on, I guess you call it chairman's report, a vice chairman's report.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, item number 6A, the discussion approval of minutes from May 7th, 2020, our special meeting.
John, you usually bat lead off. I don't know. I don't know if you're under COVID or anything, but you usually go first.
Which one are we on now? May 7th.
May 7th.
May 7th, yep. Yeah, I can flip it up on the screen if you want, guys.
I don't show any corrections that I want to make there, so I'll pass it to
Good.
you, Jim.
Okay, I got a couple things that I circled. I don't know if they mean, oh, yeah. Vice Chairman report, page 2. Item 5, the first paragraph. I think it's that, yep. Okay. The last sentence, team. As unemployment has been on a continual rise within the town of Orange, then it says the bell curve. And I said, wait a minute, whose bell curve? The town's bell curve rate. The town's bell curve rate has had a very similar profile. And then that's would be the edit I would put there, Deb. You see what I'm doing there? The town's bell curve rate on that last sentence. Are you good? Does that make sense?
Yep. Should bell curve be capitalized?
It
I
is.
should have it capitalized, not
I don't,
myself. Cancel. The last paragraph on that same page, the third bullet of the vice chairman report, the last sentence, he suggested that amplifying deficiencies to institute, I don't think it's successful responses, effective responses. That's the word that came to my mind as I read that. And since I wrote all the bullets, I'm pretty sure that would capture what I said. The next page, the first bullet. Okay, so what we have here is a sentence that says, yet the Board of Education in the same dire economic client reduced their budget by $950K. I then wrote the following. In Mr. Leahy's view, OBOE has set an example that others can follow. Oh, excuse me, that Amity can follow or could follow. I'm pretty sure that's what we said.
yeah. That sounds good.
Similarly, but a little further down in the paragraph that starts with the words Mr. Shanley, and PJ, you can have the final word. Of course, Mr. Shanley, last sentence, Mr. Shanley stated, we have a food program in schools, but statistics show that 1 in 5 children go hungry.
So I had that highlighted as well.
Thank you.
I don't think I said that. I think someone did though, but I actually had the number of students that were participating in.
There was a very high number that were participating, if I
Right.
remember.
I believe
I
300
couldn't tell you what that
children
number
were,
was right now though.
I think 300 children were picking up food at the middle school.
Yeah, it was quite a
Okay.
few.
Well, then let's say that. Let's say, but statistics show that 300 children, the birds go hungry, I don't know. When I was a kid, we didn't have much. I never felt hungry. I could eat food all night sometimes around here, and at the end of the night, I'll feel hungry. I mean, it just, yeah. So I would like us to say, but statistics show that 300 children use this program or something like that.
300, yeah, families in Orange.
Yeah, yeah. The other one's a little,
Really, because we don't know
yeah.
what it was.
Yeah, let's use 300.
Because it was talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I don't want to minimize what we're saying here. I just, it's. And Kevin, wait a minute. Oh, last paragraph, last page, John, I need your expertise on this. Says that, last bullet on page, on the final page there, page 4, 5.5 positions. Is that correct, John? Reduce 5.5 positions?
Let's see.
3.5.
We had Park and Rec. We
Right,
had the person in tax office. We
right.
had the office manager in the first selectman's office. We had a half a position in wetlands. What's that, 4.5?
3.5.
3.5.
3.5? Oh, the wetlands position that was combined with plan and zoning,
That's
Okay,
right.
so that's a half a position.
So that's 4.
4. I thought it was 4.5 myself. I'm probably missing
4.5.
something.
It's not 5.5. We know that.
Yeah, I would make it 4.5.
Okay. That's all I got, Kev.
That's great. Anyone else?
Oh, it's good.
Is there a motion to approve as amended?
Yes, I'll do that.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on to
Here. Yes.
May 18th regular meeting.
All right.
Next,
The virtual meeting.
Okay.
Regular,
I'll start out here. With the very, very top sentence, Board of Finance regular budget hearing. Let's take out regular. This meeting was just our budget hearing.
right. That's right.
All right.
Have that, Deb?
No, I don't. Say that again.
At the top where you have Board of Finance regular budget hearing, take out
Right
the
under
word
the, right
regular.
under the seal.
Oh, okay, I see it. Okay, good.
Let me see if I can do,
Got it.
annotate.
Okay, and then on page 2, the third bullet there where Chairman Houlihan, your last sentence, Kevin, you said Chairman Houlihan noted that additional fund balance may be needed depending on any shortfall from the state or tax revenue. I think you added there.
Yes. Thank you. Yep, because a lot of
Because we've been
unknowns.
talking about those together. And that's all I had for that one. Turn it over to Jim again.
Yeah. I've started to do the arrow, and the arrow is causing me to not be able to do anything else.
Hit escape twice.
Oh. I tried, Johnny, and
Sometimes that works.
well, let me look over my notes and we'll deal with the arrow in a minute. Now, Kevin and team, I do not have anything on this.
Okay. Then is there a motion to approve as amended?
So move.
Second,
Second.
second by Kevin. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Thank you. And now to the Board of Finance special meeting on May 18th.
Okay, I have one minor change, page 2. In the bold area there, where it starts with Mr. Leahy and number 158,7223. Too many twos there. Yeah. If you take one out, we're good there.
I tried to sneak it in, John.
I guess so. And that's all I had for that one.
I have nothing, Kev.
There's nothing else on this one?
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and then start sharing again. Maybe that'll get rid of it, Johnny.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the May 18th special meeting as amended?
So move.
Motion by Pat, second.
I'll second.
Second by Kevin. All those in, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Thank you. Okay, now we're up to, I believe it's item 7 now. Request to fund purchase a new fire marshal vehicle. See the request from Fire Marshal Vincent. So this is
Okay.
John.
Okay, Jim, could you put up the town webpage again a second with the firehouse in it?
Sure.
I'm gonna do a little show and tell tonight.
You mean the Orange Volunteer Fire
Right
Department?
there, Orange Volunteer Fire Department. It's a good picture right here. You see three.
Oh. It went away.
Oh,
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 you
oh,
lost
I'm sorry.
them.
Violation.
goes the truck.
Well, wait a minute, hold on now. I thought you, this is a great quote, by the way. This is the Orange Volunteer Fire Department website. You wanted to go to the
I want to go back to that picture you had there, the
The
fire.
first picture, Jim, on the GoFundMe page.
Go fund me.
yeah, I'm going back right now. Here we go. This one?
That one.
Yes. Okay, here's a perfect picture of the three fire marshal vehicles. To the right of the ladder fire truck, you see a black vehicle there. That's our newly appointed fire marshal, James Vincent's vehicle. That's a brand new vehicle that was received to replace the vehicle that was totaled when Fire Marshal Smith passed away. And the insurance company took care of that. To the left of the fire truck is the white vehicle. That is now newly appointed Deputy Fire Marshal Tim Borer's vehicle. And that was Jamie's vehicle before he got the new one and was appointed Fire Marshal. Now the third vehicle there, the red one, to the right of Jamie's vehicle is the one we're talking about tonight. It's 2006 Ford Expedition.
Okay.
We knew it was in bad condition, that we were going to replace it. We thought we'd get through it another year. We delayed asking for it in the budget year. It went up on the lift at the highway garage for some work. It was inspected, and I was sent an email that said it was very dangerous. It should be taken off the road.
And that's this email right here, Johnny, right?
I don't think I gave you that one exactly. I gave you another one that Jamie gave me.
Oh,
But
okay.
once I get notified of that for insurance purposes, it comes off the road right away because it becomes a big liability to the town.
Mhm.
So,
No, so
They are-
memos
they
like
are-
that should not be written, right?
right.
Right.
So then you have the quotes here from Jamie for a new vehicle to replace that one. They're actually currently looking for 2 fire inspectors. Mike Knight, who's been a longtime fire inspector, resigned last week. So they're going to be looking for 2 new fire inspectors. Right now, Jamie and Tim are going to be doing the job themselves, all the jobs themselves, until that's taken care of. He got me the quotes for the vehicles. He'd like to go out and try and purchase a new vehicle because of what's been going on with the virus and all. There's a shortage of emergency vehicles for both police and fire. This may not happen for a few months, but we want to get the order in so we could get on the list.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't find pickup trucks or anything out there that are new anymore. It's very difficult. There's a massive shortage of vehicles.
Yeah, there was a police car that the police wanted to buy out of Massachusetts. It wouldn't have been under the Connecticut, state bid list, it was
Right.
$5,000 more, and we're not gonna do that.
On the front of your memo, you have handwritten in, John, for us, the auto, the radio, and the lights. This is there's 3 pages, and I have on the screen the first page, which has the 34,631.26 or something like
Right.
that. And then you have a subsequent page that shows the detail. Radio page that shows $6,378.05, 828609 for the lights, which is
Right.
installation. So that rolls up to somewhere just south of 50,000.
Yeah, 49,295.60 to be exact.
Okay. Now, Kevin, we could talk, do you want to bring up the same issue as before regarding this being more a capital purchase rather than out of fund balance or surplus, or where is your thought on that, Kevin?
Well, I'll sound kind of hypocritical, but it's a smaller amount. And when we get to the police, we'll talk about that also. But this one I could go either way, however the board feels on that. The Silverbrook, especially since it was such a large amount.
Right.
I wanted that out of capital. This, because this was not, I believe, on our list, right, John? This is something that just
No.
came up.
No, it wasn't.
And if we have to cover, I'm open to everyone's feelings, but I don't have a problem taking this out of our current surplus. The 160, that's out of the way, so that's a big chunk.
Okay. We're talking 50 grand for this vehicle, and we have thoughts on the viability of purchasing it, or whether we support that, and then where to take the money from. I guess they're kind of interrelated, but commentary is welcome, I guess, is opening bid.
John, do we have an idea as to what the surplus is looking like?
Yeah, we're not in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Trouble. That's in the other reports that we had. I had printed out from me, PJ, the old-fashioned way, put it in the mailbox, milk box.
Yeah, John did for me too.
Yeah, so it's like 2.9, you know.
Yeah.
It will be lower than that, though. We haven't done any encumbrances yet.
Yep.
Right.
That's what I was looking for. What do you think, John?
Hey, it's up to you guys. I gave you where I thought it could come from. You want to take it out of capital? If you spend it in the current budget, it's one thing. If you don't spend it, it's going to fall the fund balance anyway. So it's all going to come to the same place eventually. And you're going to move money out of fund balance, either to cover deficits this year or to increase the capital.
Mhm.
All right,
True
so-
enough, but it gives us more flexibility.
If we go back to the initial one, if we did,
If you took $100,000 out of the budget that's closing now, it just won't fall the fund balance.
Right.
Yep.
right, which we don't know how much we may or may not need,
Right.
based on
And your-
collections and whatnot.
And your fund balance is 18% before you put any more into it. So, I mean, everything's healthy right now.
Oh, no, we're very fortunate, considering the environment we're in.
The thing you might worry about, and Jim kind of touched on it at the high school about bringing the kids back and what they have to do for safety. I haven't heard anything from our Board of Ed.
Yeah, they're meeting tonight.
Yeah, and they're probably going to have to do some of the same things. So I don't know if they'll be able to cover that all either.
Yeah, and one of the big problems there is there's so much discussion, whether I have teacher clients or I live with a teacher, and everybody's got an opinion, and they've heard this from a coworker or from that. The governor has not come out with his guidelines yet. So it's all speculation of what things might look like come September. We just don't know.
But one of the things they have come out with, they want kids from kindergarten to, I think, 8th grade to stay together as a group.
Mhm.
Probably is okay in the elementary school, but in middle school, where they move from,
Different
social
subjects,
studies
different-
to
yeah.
English, that's the problem. They want them to stay as a group and not gather in like the cafeteria. They want the cafeteria and the gymnasiums to be used as like classrooms to
Classroom.
split them up
Right.
to lower the class sizes, which we know in Orange are lower. So that may not be as big a problem as other cities and towns. My concern is, and I'm sure theirs is, they're going to spend a lot of money implementing all these things, and the students are going to go back for a month, and people are going to get sick, be it teachers or children or aides or whatever, and we're going to be back to where we were in the spring with them home again.
Okay, we're getting a little off
It
topic
sounds
here.
like you're talking to the same people I am, because that's exactly the
Yeah.
predictions I've heard from the various teachers and medical people, that by September 30th, they'll be closed again.
Close down.
Okay.
Hopefully they're wrong.
Oh, you're right. I mean, I
John,
just
John,
hate to see the money spent on,
how does that, let's focus on this, or at least how that may impact whether we go fund balance or capital.
Well, let me ask a question. Are we in any danger by having a healthy fund balance of the state saying, sorry, guys, you don't get any more money because you've got a lot?
That's a
that's
good point.
happened.
There's always that threat, I think.
Yeah,
That's happened in the past. as
I
you-
know,
Yep.
I know.
Well, the reason we have a lot, one of the reasons, is that we have been funding a 7 through 12 educational system that has had gravely systemic budgeting problems that have led to astronomical surpluses. And the only reason a major reason why we're in this situation is we've been taxing because of that, we've been taxing our people, our taxpayers, too much over the last dozen years. And that's it. That's the major reason.
Yeah,
Jim, I'll clarify your comment, because I know what you meant to say.
yeah.
Please do.
We haven't been overtaxing. That district you mentioned has been.
Correct. Well,
I mean, we passed the budget, but we're stuck. We
we're
have no
stuck
say
with
in
the
theirs.
Amity budget. That's correct. I mean, you saw, those charts I created last February, I mean, they're just spellbinding every time I go back and look at them. And you guys have seen them. I've presented them to you in 3 of these meetings. It's like, let me see, you couldn't live without this amount of increase, but at the end of that year, you had that much surplus. And you did that exact same thing over the last 10 years. Amazing.
So John, I'm going to ask you a question. When it comes to the state, I don't know what period of time they look at. If they're going to look at June 30th of this year, then Pat makes an excellent point of, there could be too much there. I'm sticking with the 160. We already made that motion, but
Yeah.
because to me, in this environment, I'd rather have more in the general fund, because we could spend that money on anything that's needed for the town and the taxpayers. Capital, that account, we can only spend on capital. But now, should these next two, which are the police and the fire marshal vehicle, should we just pay for that? Does it hurt us if we, or is the state just,
I think with the money the state's lost and the hemorrhaging they're doing,
oh, it's horrible.
they're gonna be looking at everything. I wouldn't be surprised if that teacher's pension thing comes up again, and some of these other things come up again that they've talked about in the past.
Everything but the labor agreement.
For example, the State Office of Policy and Management, OMB, sent us a spreadsheet back in April, I think it was. It asked us what we thought our projected surplus or deficit was going to be in the 30 before the virus hit and then after the virus hit. And they also asked us what our fund balance was at the time. So they're looking at everything.
They're looking at it, yeah.
And
Okay,
I think, and yet, we know our surrounding communities have brand new town halls or whatever else they have. And we don't, clearly, and we could spend a lot of money at just fixing up town hall. But we don't spend
Hey, Kevin.
wastefully, and we get punished for it. But with the sales tax revenue and everything else that's so far down, it's who are they gonna cut? If they start looking at that, they're only gonna fund the major cities, and we will be out. Which means we might need 900,000 to cover the ECS money we don't get.
Yeah.
That would be my concern.
Hey, Kevin, can we moved money into a capital account this past year or in the last 18 months?
Yeah,
John, now my question would be for John and the auditor, and I should know this and I don't. If it comes to August and our collections are decent for July, can we make a
Yep.
motion in August to fund some of the surplus into the capital account before we close the year? Or is it too late?
I don't know that question. I asked them about that for tonight. I didn't ask them if we went farther into the year. I don't-
With
I don't know.
encumbrances or other audit adjustments where,
Right.
30 days from now, we might have a better light on the school openings and whatnot.
Mm.
to
I know
better-
they do. I know they do 60 days on collections, but I'm not sure they would take a motion to retro to June 30th. See, we haven't given them a trial balance yet.
Mhm.
We'll be giving them a trial balance by the end of this month, though.
Well, hey, Kev, look, we're already after June 30th, right? So if we can't do it, if we have to do it before June 30th, the ship's already left the dock
Right, on that.
on that. But it's up, here it is, July 20th. We're gonna meet August 17th. That's the third Monday.
that is.
And by then we could do that whether it's retro to this year or not, right? We can at any point in time move money from fund balance into the capital account.
Correct.
Think
But
you-
we would want it there as of June 30th to
Correct.
lower the fund balance.
Hey,
and
listen,
increase-
let's just do it. And whenever we do it and just say, we'll just make it retroactive.
Can we do that?
Yeah, we make a motion and we vote on it. And then, who's gonna say,
Not if it's too late for the auditors.
well, until we get that information, we could do it. And until we find out that they for sure know that you can't. We're in a kind of a Wild West world right now, gang.
Yeah, we are.
The rules kind of don't apply. Every restaurant is consumed the streets around it, right? The parking lots around it, whereas before you could never have done that. The world is kind of different now. I'm just saying, we shouldn't say, oh, well, maybe we can't. Let's just say we can until someone says, I don't know, you can't. That's my thought anyway. So I would say take this out of current surplus, both these and the police cars when we get there. And, let's try to move as much money as we can over to the capital account as is prudent, given what we see collections coming in by the end of September. That's
Okay.
where I'm at.
All right, so then the fire marshal vehicle, we're gonna take out of the accounts John's proposing.
Yep,
Okay, so then we'll move on from this. Is there a motion to do that?
sure. 50,
Who said sure?
I did.
All right, so your motion, it goes in line, Deb, just with all those line items that John has
Yeah, the
listed.
55,000, 50,000, whatever, 350s and a 5.
Okay, so is
Yeah.
there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right. I
Any
think
further
it's-
discussion?
Yeah, it's this thing here.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good, good.
Opposed, abstained. All right, so that's unanimous. So the fire marshal vehicle is purchased out of current surplus, out of these accounts. Item number 8, request to fund 2 police vehicles.
Okay. One vehicle is for a vehicle that was totaled back in December of 2019. The $16,600 that I'm asking you to take out of the insurance fund was the money we received for that from the insurance, the value of the vehicle at the
Oh,
time.
okay. All right, good.
The other car, he had asked for 2 vehicles in capital.
Yeah.
And the first selectman and I, speaking about it, said, we'll give him the one to replace it and we'll get him another one. He didn't want to go for the third. We didn't want to go for the third under the current situation with, tax revenue and everything. So that was how we came up with those 2 vehicles.
Good.
Okay,
And again, these 2 are coming out, if you go by my motion, the money is coming out, the rest of the money is coming out of police special duty. That's the work they do for outside businesses in the town, UI, the people that cut the trees and all. There's a surplus of money in there. I think we did this before a couple of years ago.
we did. That's why this one I had no problem with, because whenever the chief and what he's done in running his budget, if he's had extra money for vehicles, we've pulled that back out of, so that's consistent. Okay,
There's no sense letting that account keep building up.
How's he doing on his staffing, John?
He's had a lieutenant and a sergeant retire within the last month. Lieutenant LaRock retired, and she went to another department and started working, I believe, the next day. And Sergeant Aquino retired, I believe it was the middle of June.
Mm.
And I'm not sure where he is now. So I believe he's down at least 3 positions at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
He has a couple of people out, I believe, on workman's comp also.
Okay, so we ready for motions on this one?
absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll make a motion if you want. For the 100,000 coming out of those 2 accounts for 2 police vehicles as identified in the memo from John to us. I think.
I second it.
Yeah.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Pat. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, unanimous.
Good on that one.
Thank you.
Okay, request to fund. What's next, Kev?
All right, next is the new item, and you don't have it in front of you, but if you go to your, you're just gonna have to trust me on this. That capital projects page that John sent with our package tonight.
Okay, hey, John, I'm gonna send you right now the file that we created back in February. I think it's version 3.
Okay.
Does anybody else need it? I have a copy you want it. Anybody else needs it, I can punch it in.
I had short-term capital projects. Is that the one you're talking about, Kev?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, got it.
yeah, so we're looking at this. And it should be very close to what we created back in February, you know. put up
Yeah,
in-
that's it right there. Oh,
That's it, yeah.
now that's a new one. Okay. Got so many papers on my desk all of a sudden. All right, so the second item from the capital projects committee that we didn't approve any of these, we did the Silverbrook tonight. But number 2 was police armor kits. And that was determined, obviously necessary by the whole capital planning committee. And then in discussions with the chief in prior weeks and the assistant chief, that's kind of one of their high priority things to get covered. It was important back in February, and in February, we did not have a pandemic and we did not have protests going on in the country. Fortunately, Connecticut, we haven't had anything, major happen with any violence or anything. I think New Haven had some Molotov cocktails. Now you got the highways closing. You had 91 on Saturday with
Oof, yeah.
bicyclists riding across it now. That's another thing. But so this was, it's these armor kits and one shield. And Delta Level Defense is the contractor, and they have a current quote for everything that they had based on the capital planning meeting was 26,000. A quote as of June 27th is 26,830. Because these things are being needed more across the country. And what I'd like to do, and I could shoot this document off if anybody wants to look at it right now, but we had gone through it with the capital planning, is do a not to exceed $30,000 and allow our police department to get these armor kits and the shields and
Yeah, this is the same one that we had at 26, item 2 from the Excel file.
that's exactly it. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Listen, this was important when it was presented to us. It's more important right now. We need to keep our police officers safe. That's
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And this is what, one shield per car?
Yeah, that's what the notes I have here. I had old kits now were hand me down from the US Army, way too heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Car 22 lighter, also ballistic 22 helmets, stop rifle shots. Those are the notes I captured.
Right.
February.
I remember Police Chief Gagnon explaining it, how heavy they were. This is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going, while we're chatting, guys, I'm going to send this to everybody so that you're not looking around for it in the future, okay? So I'll just punch in this while you guys are doing your work. All right, so Pat has 2. Okay, Pat has 2, PJ has 2. This is what I go through to talk to you
Yeah,
guys.
You
Mom,
could just leave the.
I only have one.
you said, yeah, that's great. Oh, you're down to 1.
I'm down to 1.
Yo, and then they were 1. You remember that movie?
Yep.
And they were 1.
So Kevin, you made a motion, right?
Who?
You.
I can't make a motion. I suggested a motion of, not to exceed 30,000 just in case the price went up a little bit.
Well, I'll make that motion to provide the Orange Police Department with an amount not to exceed 30,000 to buy the shields and the helmets that they need to keep them safe.
I'll second that.
Motion by PJ, seconded by Kevin.
Hold
Any
it.
further discussion? And we're going to take this out of the capital fund.
Capital fund?
Yes,
Okay.
Okay.
because it was on that item. That's, yeah. Is that okay, PJ? Or should we let John find it wherever he can?
No. I was on mute. Yes, that's fine.
John, what's your preference, sir?
Whatever you want me to do. I could do either way.
Capital to me. Feels like capital to me in the sense of permanency.
Okay. Jim, capital, you said?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what I was-
let's go with that. Is that okay? If that, as long as that's PJ's motion and Kevin's second?
Yep. If you guys good with that, I'll clarify it or whatever you call it.
Okay. Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. And I'll send this out for everybody's reference, not that you're as interested as I am, but these vests, I have a full page description of all the calibers that they're effective against, and compared to what they have and what's been out there on the market prior, it's pretty impressive. So they clearly have come a long way. It's also scary too that you need this, but
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah,
It's like they're in a war zone.
I think we are.
Yeah.
What else we got on this capital list, Kev?
That was it for tonight. I mean, we could put something on our agenda for the next meeting. I have spoken with John and with the chief, who I owe a phone call back to because he called me last week right before the July 15th, and I apologize. Chief, if you're watching or see this tomorrow or have anybody from Orange watching, don't be mad at me because I did not get back to him because I know they do have some issues with some fire alarm panels in the department that have been on their budget for a couple of years and always been removed, but we'll deal with that. We'll have to deal with or discuss that in August. But I don't, there's nobody else coming on this for anything as far as I know, John, correct?
Now, I'll just mention one other thing. Item 6 on there is going off, I believe also. The cost is going to be either that or less. And I'm going to find some money in the budget to take care of that from the 630 budget and encumber to
Okay,
take
good.
care of that.
Do you need anything from us to do that, John, or authorization?
Now,
or
it's under our spending limits and I could do that
Okay.
in-house as long as I don't touch the labor accounts.
Okay,
So now it would now be, because we'll move on to the munis reports, but while we're talking about this, just overall, because we have things to, there's things that may be encumbered in the current year budget and
Right.
For expenses that are still coming in. And I think we always give John permission to just do what's necessary there. Is that correct, John? Or am I
Yes.
thinking
up
incorrect?
to a limit, right?
There are a few lines that I'm going to encumber money for some future costs that are coming up.
Okay, good.
Good.
You know, there's always, we do these budgets 12 to 18 months before they really start, and emergencies come up throughout the year that you need to have some money for.
Peace.
Well, the more you can uncover, the better. If the governor's going to be looking at taking our fund balance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to, as long as I've got you covered, John, we'll move on to the new item 10 to review revenue and expense reports for 6/30/2020. Our new munis reports. That we all had confusion because when I looked at year-to-date expended on a revenue report, I agree with Jim and I think Kevin and Pat, we all said that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are a challenge. I think it's useful to go through them, team. So why don't we do that? And I would recommend we do it just page by page. I think it won't take as long as you think if you just stay organized and we. One good thing is on the screen here, as you can see, once I get it settled on where the thing is. One thing I noticed here on page 1, John, we were way low on our permits. Now, if you're at home looking at all these negative numbers, welcome to the club, okay? We're kind of not sure, but at the top of the page, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain that says year-to-date expended. You're looking not at a budget report, you're looking at a revenue report, of which is one component of the budget. But how to read it is under the thing original and then revised, that's the budget, and these are revenue items. Took me a while to figure this out, so I'm just telling you what my team went through today. And then year-to-date expended really means how much money we got. And so when you're here on the right and you say $5,000, all right, oh, that's a good thing. All right. Permits, 180 were you expected. Pay no attention to that negative sign. We got 374. Pay no attention to the negative sign. 194 in the plus column. This thing is revenue. We like what we're talking about. That's how you read this report. Get that background. So good news on permits, building permits. The next question I had, John Ciparelli, is I went to page 2. Not exactly sure how under tax collections, we have to use the word taxes every time. It isn't a secret. But these are millions of dollars. Essentially, what you can see is you end up in that whole total tax collector, 85,000 to the good, with a smattering of goods and bads in between.
Yeah, you know, a lot of that is going to disappear in the new year. If you remember, in the Phoenix system, Art separated it between cash and credit cards, and we decided not to do that anymore. It was just making things too confusing, and it wasn't worth what we were getting out of it. So
Agreed.
you can see some of those, like can't even tell here really because of the way they are.
Yeah, how we have all this, that would be one of my recommendations. If you're gonna have this much white space, right? Exactly sure why someone said you could only have 12 or 15 characters over here. And then let's enjoy 12 characters of white space when we try to figure out what that real name of that item was.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way to do this.
I think what we're gonna have to do as we go through it, taxes is probably gonna disappear. And it'll
Right.
just be real property, personal property, motor vehicle going down. It was the way we understood how we had to do that, and
Yeah.
we're seeing it now. And we'll make those changes throughout
Yeah,
the year.
and I mean,
Because if it's under tax collector, we know it's taxes. We don't need the word there on every
Right.
line.
and
Right,
that happens a lot.
yeah.
We probably don't need decimal points, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that I could probably figure out how to shut off at some point in time. Just like I found out I could get rid of those negative signs.
Yep. Marching on, tax clerk. The good here is town clerk, so something called the conveyance was almost 50% higher than what we expected, or more than 50% higher. Good news. And
That's because we had a lot of big properties sell.
Yeah.
Sam's Club, Lowe's, and we get a fee on all those.
Okay. And surplus, we budgeted 500,000. We got 1,000,001. So we had a favorable. Remember, this is favorable to what we budgeted. That was favorable of 602. Marching on, unless I hear a voice of a teammate. Next page, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff that ends up being 288 positive. The good news is we budgeted to use 300,000 of fund balance and didn't have to use it. All right. That's what that line's telling me.
Yeah.
So that's a good news. Slow me down if you want, team. The police, I'm not sure why we didn't get police special duty for 80 grand, but that's what it's telling me.
Okay, let me speak to that. That's the entry we pick up at the end of the year when we're working with the auditors. So
Okay.
that'll be coming in there. So that'll add to the surplus at the end.
Good. Anybody else, team? Fire marshal, I'm gonna keep going, team. Next page, we're on to now the next page, which is page 4. Small numbers here on next page down below. We have a
Okay, one other,
park and rec self.
yeah, that's another one we should get at the end of the year when we do the audit entries. That may not happen though, because Park and Rec had to close down for half the year with the virus. So a lot of their programs didn't happen. So the revenue didn't come in. So it's probably not enough revenue to take out of there.
I would argue that most of the Park and Rec's revenue comes in the summer months, not in March through the end of the calendar year, fiscal year. But check on that, and I know they have a big balance because me and Kevin, you remember we checked on their balance years ago,
Yes, absolutely.
and that's when we stopped giving them money. Remember?
Yeah, we told them to use some more of their self-support. Yep.
Correct. Okay, Next page, team. There's not much really on those things of large numbers, except under the Orange Public Schools.
Yeah.
2 large numbers there.
Yeah, we haven't gotten their number. We have to give back to them. I believe we have to, looking at that number, we have to give them back that 253.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, John.
Yeah, that's usually what
right.
happens.
Yeah, that's that special education number, but they haven't sent me a memo yet on that.
And the
and the-
one above it is ECS, right, John?
Yes, and we got more than we had budgeted
We
for
had
there.
budgeted 918 and we got back 1,000,001. Okay.
Right.
All right. We're in the home stretch, team. And so what this is saying, and then the final page, which has a summary on it as well. Public health NU, is that something that's going to come in later, John?
That's something that should come in later. Again, I'm not sure we're gonna get that. They've been hit pretty hard with the virus and they don't get reimbursements on quite a few things.
Oh. Anyway.
Sorry.
As it stands, this says that on the revenue side, we are favorable of 904,000, of which the difference in the Amity surplus was 603,000. We saved the 300,000 from the town fund balance, and then there was a smattering of other things that we just went through, which are not final, but they're directionally correct, knowing that we'll be ahead of the game on the revenue side. That's the way I saw this.
That's exactly right. And even if Park and Rec self-support, we don't get that money,
Yep.
and they're successful, that means, not to pick on them in the coming year, but means we take more this year in the next budget if we had to. Yeah, and they're not using any of the fund balance. Jim, you're right. That's huge.
You ready to go to expenses, team? But anybody, last call on revenue?
Looks good.
Okay, expenses, same kind of thing. Let me get up to 125%, get organized here while you're grappling with your sheets there. Oh, good, I can go over more. Oh, then we can get the percent. There it is. Okay, a lot of pages, but it goes fast because if you look, you kind of look and, by the way, John, screen here, it looks good. Revised budget, looks like it's bolded, but when you print it out, it's real hard to read. So I keep that in mind. So again, how do you read it? You have an original appropriation for selectmen of 226. It bumped up by a little, 228. How much they expended is 201. So they have a favorable variance. And one way of eyeballing this real quick is go to your percentages, look at your numbers. Are they big or small numbers? Then look upstairs, I call it, and say, oh, of that 2716 is from salary office for a reason we could identify or talk about or not. But that's how my mind kind of churns through these 30 or so pages. And then it becomes a lot easier to do. You can do it over a cup of coffee.
Right. I have a question going through all of this and starting with the first line, longevity. I see there's no longevity taken out throughout. Is this something we're waiting to take out, or we?
No,
budgeted?
that's taken out on their anniversary. We
Okay,
budgeted for that, and then the person retired and she wasn't eligible for it
Okay.
last year when she retired. Longevity is only for the older people that work in the town hall. It's
Right.
been phased out for anybody new coming in. So there's very little of it left in the budget.
okay, but I recall going through that there were a lot of zeros in the longevity. So I'm assuming the same thing is true on
It's
yeah,
where
on
you-
the town clerk line, for example. So, all right, that explains it though.
Town clerk, she should have got that.
Okay, why don't we go through one at a
Okay,
time, or at least page by page, and Pat, bring it up as you see it and
okay, will do.
answer. I think that's a good process. Good question, though. I have a similar question about a lot of salary accounts that seem to have a lot of favorable variance. So here's the assessment. you know, so we'll just slow down just a little to get our feet wet. 235 was budgeted, 222, 16,000 favorable from a variety of sources. It didn't cause me anything to look at, but it may have you. So I'm just going to keep going unless you slow me down. Right now we get to finance. John, you have a budget of 333. You overspent, my man.
I knew you were going to ask that. I have reasons for
A
that.
salary account, John, you're pocketing your own salary.
And in the treasurer's department too, both areas for our payroll clerk and our AP clerk, we budget them at 37 and a half hours. And I need them for more. They're working more like 40 hours a week. So that's where the problem is there. And then you throw in the munis where we had to work some overtime.
Yep.
That was another hit on there. And I think, is Audrey's line over also? Where's the assistant?
Just a little bit.
And
Just a little.
she had to work on Washington's birthday, because not Washington's birthday, Martin Luther King, because of the tragedy. We had to come in, and I think we both worked Washington's birthday, so a few problems there.
Okay. A process
The
comment.
one other thing I'm gonna have to do, let me say, that $4,200 that's remaining for audit services, I'm
Right.
gonna encumber that. When the police department, we finally get their contract settled, I'm gonna need to bring them in to do the retro pay calculations. It's over a year now. That's a tough calculation. We just aren't gonna have time to do it here.
I can't believe I'm about to say the following words. What I used to like about the old system was all the salary accounts were at the top. You got.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
You're
now you gotta
absolutely-
hunt for them.
And we asked about that. The problem is they only sort to those, what is it, 3, 6,
5 digits.
those 8 digits in front. They don't sort on the 5s. And we've asked them what it'll take to do that. And it could be done for money. They
Like
haven't,
everything else.
they
How
haven't
about
told
this?
me how much money, but we'll ask that down the road, Jim, because I kind of like that myself.
Yeah.
John, throw it into Excel, and all you need is a macro, and some sophomore in high school probably could figure it out. But let's keep going. All right, Board of Finance.
Another
There
option
it,
would be.
there it is. The best bargain in the entire budget. Debson. There it is.
John, why don't you ask them if they could sort by the highest dollar amount instead of the number? Instead of the town number.
That's a good, very good, PJ.
I can ask them that too.
The salaries they should always be.
Yeah.
At the top, yeah.
Yeah.
So my battery's running low, so we could be saying sayonara soon.
Okay.
Look at the charging cord.
Whatever happened to the cord there, PJ? Okay, keep going, team.
Okay, the building inspector there, that high number is the electrical inspector. His job was moved to full-time, and I never put in the additional money that needed to cover that.
Okay.
God bless America. Okay, good. All right, I'm gonna keep rolling. We'll see if we can keep PJ in the mix here. All right, $40,000 favorable, 10% in IT. That surprised me. Both of them
Well-
were in
Well,
software licensing and internet
We're-
connection. Sounds like management capability.
well, what that was is he moved over to the SEN network with the state of Connecticut, and we dropped off
Right.
one. That saved us some money. But I'm probably going to do with those two, I'm probably going to encumber that money for the future down the road. There's
Okay.
some things coming up there
I
that we
would.
could use.
Yeah, that's prudent.
Yeah.
All right, legal is overall good with a little bit of there. It didn't stop my brain from keeping going. TP and Z, They eventually saved $9,000 out of their budget of about 100. Inland wetlands,
Inland wetlands, that whole department will disappear in the new year.
okay. Tax collector, save some money there, mostly on salary. We know how that went down.
Yeah.
There's another 0 for past longevity out of town clerk.
Yeah.
See,
Okay.
that one was paid though, Pat.
Yeah,
She's there. She's the oldest employee currently, I believe, in the town.
yeah, that's interesting. You're right. It was paid, but it shows up. Oh, that was paid. Okay.
No, that one,
I
yeah,
got
that's
it.
expended.
I got it, yeah.
John,
Hey,
who was
John.
that?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Kevin
Is that
had,
Mary Jane?
Yeah. That 14,000 there at the end, I believe that's got to go to the state. The payment just hasn't been made yet.
Yeah,
okay, and
That's collected on conveyances. State gets money
Okay.
on it like we do.
that was my question. Thank you. I'm gonna keep firing on. Town hall building, 48 grand saved out of a budget. That's a quarter of the budget saved.
Yeah, if you look big there, the big one was electricity.
Electricity, yeah.
Yeah,
And then telephone also, there's savings there because of the new phone system.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as a
that's
percentage,
nice.
yeah. Nice.
Where
We're gonna-
Where we're gonna get hit, oh, it's not that area.
Okay, we're keeping on firing away. Treasurer's rocking and rolling. Voter registration.
That's the clerk right there in the treasury that was negative.
Not a big number, but surprised me, voter registration was at
Okay,
20% less.
that's because we didn't have two referendums,
Yeah,
Amity and the town budget.
Okay, and we're gonna have
And
definitely,
also the primary was moved from March to next month, I believe.
that's, yeah.
August 11th.
Right.
so you may encumber some of that, John? You'll take a look at it.
I'll take a look at it. I'm maybe a little bit, not a lot, if we do.
Okay, good.
John, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I'm going to ask, and I'm going to plead ignorance with my party, but maybe Kevin, are there any local primaries?
August 14th, wasn't it?
No, August 14th is the
That's
primary.
only presidential.
Are there any local
Primary.
people?
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure about the town clerks. Or is that just gonna come to November?
Well, it'd be, if for a local primary, it'd be somebody primarying like Pat in the Democratic Party.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, I'm not aware of any and believe me, I could be completely wrong. So then my
yeah, no, I
question,
think you're right. I think you're right, Kev.
so then John, are we mandated by the federal government to have the polls open from 8 to 8? Or can we adjust them as we did with the Amity referendum,
No, I believe they have to be 6 to 8.
where we're under federal law there?
Yeah.
You-
It's only, and I think it's only for like budget referendums and stuff where you have elections. I believe by state law, it's 6 to 8.
Okay, so we can't save money there, even though
No. That where
there's
we
nothing to
may be-
vote for.
Where we may be able to save money, I'm not sure the registrars are getting people willing to work at the polls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
there are a lot of absentee ballot applications coming in for the August election.
Yeah.
I believe the last I heard, Pat had maybe 1,200.
wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they said,
That's more people than we get in some of the, some of the,
That's for that, the only primary candidates are for president,
President,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
and we have 1,200 of them in already?
Supposedly.
back to the budget.
those are
Nope,
just
they-
the requests though,
Those are the requests. Yeah.
for absentee ballots, yeah.
I'm ready to go to police general services if you guys are, page 8.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
roll.
Jim.
You can roll.
Okay, thank you. Electricity had a favorable number again, right in the middle of the page there, just following electricity.
What we'll probably encumber a few dollars in there for Bob.
Yeah. So overall, on a $750,000 budget, you can see that we have, we're at 10% savings here mostly from, you know, from some of the items we just mentioned, but, you know, some utility savings or whatever. So we'll just keep going. So this next one is uniform patrol. So this is now 3.4 million, as you can see, and he keeps it under budget, 165,000. Bump up to where the big numbers are, 66,000 in terms of salary, 46,000 in terms of overtime, which is the percentage is significant, 12,000, an amazing percentage in uniforms and cleaning, and you can read the rest. You only used 2,000 out of uniforms initial, probably because we haven't had people come on. I don't know. Maybe there'll be encumbrance there.
Yeah. What happens with those initial uniforms? Some years he brings on more people because people leave and he has to buy more uniforms, you know,
Right.
for the new people. What we'll do there, we'll probably encumber that money for the initial uniforms and probably for uniforms and cleaning, both of those. The money for overtime was saved again because all the special events that he covers with police,
Yeah.
the parade,
Yeah.
all those things. Even the carnival will have some savings this year, and the country fair, a little bit of savings because those won't be.
And even
manned.
the small concerts on the you know, at the
Yeah.
fairground,
Yeah.
we'd have 5 or 6 of those.
Yeah, the Greek festival too. They get a big crowd on Labor Day weekend with that one.
Oh, that too. That
Yeah.
you start talking about all those, and it then comes up to a significant amount of money.
Well, the Greek festival, probably won't save much there with the police because I don't know if everybody's aware. They're gonna be open for a couple of days doing curbside pickup. They're still gonna
Right,
cook all
right, for the food. But
So
it may not be as many cops as they usually have though, you know?
you're right, but there will be.
Oh, there will be some, yep.
Trust me, with the lamb and some of the other
Oh,
things
yeah.
they cook, I'll be in traffic.
I'll be in line.
You know, so that's a
Okay.
great thing to support. But
Yeah.
they're gonna still have the food tents and they're gonna offer curbside pickup. So that will be a nice thing, I think.
And Pat, here's an example where longevity has been used. So
Right,
there's,
yeah. I see it.
so continuing on to investigate, use it.
So I have a question about body cameras, which
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same thing.
we budgeted and it wasn't spent. Is there a reason? Or is it because we don't have?
I guess he didn't need any replacements or any new ones. What I'll probably do is I'll probably encumber that for him also, though.
Yeah.
They're probably all going to go at once. They were all purchased at once
Mhm.
or in two
Right.
groups, I think.
Okay, keep on going. Communications dispatch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
down, I think, 2 or 3 dispatchers, and he
Yeah.
can't hire a new one because they have to go to a training class, and the training class isn't being held because of the virus.
Oh,
Okay,
So he's working on overtime over there with that.
okay. Fire marshal is
Yeah,
22.
the overtime there on the salary account is due to Tim's passing. They had to do a lot of extra hours over there.
Okay, and now we're into page 10, I guess it is here, or maybe it's more. Hard to keep track. Page 11, at the bottom of the page, we have more stuff there. It doesn't have big numbers. No, percentages don't strike me as being radical. There's the volunteer fire department. We've already been talking about them a little bit. The town does fund them to the tune of 180. And you have other things on this page coming down to starting the public works action. Going to the summary of public works, we can see on 958,000 budget. We're 20 to the good. 14 of which came from something in the salary clerical.
That's the second person in the Public Works office upstairs here. That position's been vacant since Ann Denny went downstairs.
Okay.
Okay. Public Works roadways.
John, that was the half position we missed earlier.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No, because we're looking for somebody for that.
Okay.
Public Works roadways, it's an interesting view. Gasoline highway saved 22,000. Just
That's
FYI.
because the schools in Amity didn't use the gas
Okay.
on March to the end of June.
But John, we might have a problem there where we have to pay a
Yeah,
surcharge.
I
for
was
our
just,
usage.
We already-
thinking that.
We already did. I think it's in there.
Okay.
Okay, coming down to big numbers in that same category then. You can see 12 and a 58. 12 is in the construction materials box. 58 was in the streets and bridges.
Yeah, there's a bill coming for paving that hasn't gone through yet.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna keep going until we at least get a.
And that, if it doesn't, John, we want to uncover that street
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so this 121 favorable would go away a bit. Public Works snow removal, they used
We
it,
already, if you remember, we moved money out of there to pave
Yep.
roads.
transfers,
See it,
right?
yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. There's another zero on longevity.
The
Okay,
big
good.
one there is the shop foreman. Shop foreman
Correct.
over there retired, and it took a while to hire a new one, so there was a savings there.
Okay, refuse is on 2 pages. It's about $1 million and everything seems to be about what you expected with.
What I could tell you is we're being slammed down there with everybody home. Our tonnage is going up. The Board of Selectmen did vote this month to impose a 15-cent per pound fee if
Yeah.
you're in over 250 pounds of demolition material, and that will start on September 1.
Yep, so make 2 trips. Okay, so community center, 33 to the good, about 8%, 10 grand on something that information technology.
And I've already moved that. I've moved that to information department. They could use that for computers next year.
Another favorable variance on the
Infrastructure.
telephone. I hear Kevin's voice back there a minute ago. And
Yeah, again, that's the new phone system, so that'll stay there.
electricity, a favorable variance.
Again, a lot of those classrooms weren't used at night down there, so it cut down
Okay.
on usage.
Okay, Clark Building, we can see that there was building exterior, we put in 50 grand. I guess you got 40
That's,
expended.
that's the new roof on that building. It's been completed. We just haven't gotten a bill yet for it.
Got it. Okay, library building, a 20 grand favorable, most of it coming from electricity again.
Yeah, what I'd like to do there is I'd like to encumber that money, but not for electricity. They have to paint that building. And I'm not sure they're gonna have enough money to do it.
No, they won't.
So if that's okay, I'm gonna do that with that money.
Sounds good.
No, I'd encumber it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, we're into the library overall. I guess. it's
There
been
was, yeah, I don't think we have all her bills yet. They've been closed,
closed.
but we've been paying the staff over there. And there has been some savings on the part-time staff.
Okay,
And when their books area that they always want to raise, which, you know, I get it, because we cut them years ago. But they have $12,000 left in that account. We
Correct.
definitely need to encumber that if they haven't spent it since the last time you were given an update, because
this one right here, Kev, yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
That's their, oh, right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
39.5.
you know, that's gotta, you know, that should be encumbered if they haven't spent it, because maybe they didn't because they're not there. And that's a line item they hit us on. I mean, that line item was $55,000-$60,000 years ago, and we've lowered it in the times. So
Mhm.
I would like to see them, you know,
Okay,
not lose that because they weren't there
Yeah.
Okay.
to order new publications or whatnot. But
okay,
that's just me.
fair enough.
Okay,
I'm still in favor of selling the building though.
continue on then, team. We're on page 17.
And you can see that 13,698, that's the part-time staff, that the savings of
Yep.
not being closed.
Okay, good. Marching down to the next one, we got a $7,000 savings of about 200,000, maybe a 3% savings on Park and Rec admin. Nothing really stick except for the percentage wise on overtime, which makes sense. If you're closed, you're probably not doing a whole lot of overtime. Computer maintenance was only at half, so, you know, when we start budgeting for next year, we might take a closer look at some of this stuff. Park and Rec maintenance, everything seems to be a favorable variance. One of them is at, you know, significantly favorable water.
Yeah, that's the story. They didn't, because they weren't playing on the fields, they didn't turn on the sprinkler heads and down there and they killed the grass.
And the fire trucks had to go down there and save the day, right?
Yes.
They did, and I was there that night with them. That's one of my things I've learned about these people. They're great.
A
Oh, we
lot,
get,
a lot of that money in that area would have been spent if Little League opened up and Babe Ruth opened up.
yeah,
So it didn't happen.
we're still waiting on somebody to figure out how to sell hot dogs down there. Okay, so, rec maintenance, page 18.
Yeah, you got two
There.
big areas there. The temporary salaries, maintenance, and the overtime. Most of that was attributable to the winter. We didn't have
Okay.
any snow, so they weren't called in to shovel.
Okay. All right, so there's that one. Park and Rec pool, pretty significant savings here, 20%. Were we closed?
Yes.
We were closed for most
Yep.
of the time. I
Definitely
don't think we opened up in July either. If I'm correct, the lockers weren't ready and they didn't open until end of September.
You're right.
And the
I don't
pool,
remember if it was September, but it was definitely later, yeah.
Yeah,
and the pool was closed from March until about a week or so ago.
yeah. So that's it there.
But we used up all our overtime.
That is Sue's overtime for the director down there. She does other programs
Wait a minute,
besides
wait a
the
minute,
pool.
wait a minute. John, wait a second here. We got a function in the town that's known as a director.
Yes.
Rector is getting overtime?
No, she's the supervisor of the pool. The director is Dan Lynch.
Oh, okay. Okay.
See the salary aquatic right there, right above.
But you, in my world, if you're a director of something, they don't pay you overtime. If you have to work 70 hours a week, that's what you
Yeah.
do.
No, the directors don't, but the supervisor union.
No, okay, I'm just checking.
She's union?
She's union.
Okay.
So it looks like programs, doesn't look like a big account, so I'm just gonna Environmental health, doesn't look like big numbers, but there are some savings there, $16,000 in a $60,000 account, and again, a salary account.
That person resigned right before the virus hit. So Brian's been on his own for this whole time. And we haven't replaced that person yet either.
One of the things I noticed, John, as I go through this stuff, like Pat noticed longevity, I started noticing a lot of these favorable variances were in salary accounts. And I don't want the answer now, but I do want you to think about it. Are those because of COVID? And so in a quote regular year, we would be spending the same amount of money that this year we had budgeted? Or is it something that would be things that we would look to have savings in next year's budget, if we had budgeted the same amounts. Do you catch my drift?
That was my question that I emailed Friday, I think, to John.
Yeah, and I kind of answered it.
You kind of answered it. You did.
How about you answer it in this meeting?
Yeah, that one right there, there's no savings because we're gonna replace that person.
Okay, thank you.
As of right now, what we've budgeted, I believe, in the new budget
Right.
is what we have working. Now you're gonna see savings again because such as that account, the person we haven't hired anybody yet. So
Right.
we're almost through the month of July. It'll probably be August. It'll probably be sometime in September if we move on it, on hiring a person. So you're gonna have 2.5 months maybe of savings there.
No, we don't want to do
Right,
fractions.
because they're not gonna be coming to work, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know whether there was like a seismic shift.
Yeah, no.
Okay, very. good. Down to school nursing, and we see, 13,000 savings in temp salary private and $10,000 unfavorable in
Okay.
staff.
The 13,000 is because of the virus, because the schools were closed. They didn't
Right.
have to put the nurse in the private school up on Marshall Road. The 10,000 staff salary, the person there that was the head of oversaw all the nurses in the school retired, and we had to make a vacation payout to her. So that was a one-time thing. We should be back in the current budget, new budget, we should be okay there.
And the wash up above it, pretty much that 4511 and the 5725, is that the kind of same work? It used to be done
Same thing.
category of person and now it's being done by somebody else, that type of thing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, coming down to Board of Health, bigger numbers.
Okay, the Board of Health there, you'll see a negative in the salary there.
Yeah.
Just go up a little bit. Brian, we've been able to collect some money for Brian's hours from the state. And what we collected, we gave to him. The first selectman and I discussed it, and we thought it was only fair to give it to him. Same thing with Dr. Mohammed. So there's money in to cover that in the revenue.
Well, John, I must be on the wrong number here. I'm looking at the Board of Health 336 here on the bottom of this page, whatever page it is. I think it's,
Yeah, that's,
I don't see numbers that are the
Yeah.
same you're talking about.
see that number 3,148 negative?
Oh, the Director of Health. Oh, got it.
Right. That's Dr. Mohammed.
Okay, got it. I'm not worried about $3,000.
He's
Yeah.
been working like crazy.
I was gonna say, if he was over budget by 10 grand,
Yeah.
Was he involved with that lawsuit?
that gentleman is
Yes,
That too.
performed. He's an
All right,
asset to the town of Orange.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, another admin, communication services, a favorable number.
Okay, there we've had people out sick and on family and medical leave, so we've been saving money there.
All right, I'm gonna just,
Family counseling, because of the pressure on the families, so a lot more people are using it. That always fluctuates every year between 85 and 100.
Sure does.
No, that's certainly understandable.
I think I had wrote my notes. I wrote the words Barry next to that 96,000. You remember Barry?
Yeah, he
Barry-
retired.
Yes.
Barry's been retired for about 5 years.
Oh, no, I know, but I remember him.
Doesn't
Yeah.
seem that long, but yeah.
Yeah,
Barry Kasdan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, good, very strong, Kevin, very good. Okay, I'm gonna slide down to the community services elderly, not a lot to talk about, I don't believe.
again, everything was closed down there, so they did continue to feed the elderly. They were able to deliver it to their homes. The van drivers, the vans pretty much had to come off the road. I think we kept one van on, so there was savings there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to use it for groceries or essential doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a good job on those.
John, I would encumber that too, because we're gonna need money going forward in that account. Don't you think?
She asked for more money this year and we did give her a little more.
Yeah.
For the driver's cab or for the?
For the
vehicle?
vehicles or, yeah.
Yeah, that's the driver account, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
That 10,000 you see there for youth coordinator,
Yes, sir.
part of her salary is paid by a state grant, and we never know what we're going to get there. So we got more of a state grant this year, so we saved a little money there. That's Jessica Simeone.
Okay.
I like hearing that.
She's doing a very good job from what I understand down there.
She's a
Okay,
great
so-
person.
Now we get into an area we probably want to slow down or just a tear because we get into this thing called employee benefits, for which we have budgeted 7.3 million, and we are only gonna be spending 6.4. So let's just make
No,
sure.
let's not talk about line one.
Line one is not talked about. Carl.
Right.
Okay. That one will be encumbered anyways.
It
All
will.
right.
Okay.
What
I
is
need-
Social Security?
Social Security is the match that we pay for the employees.
Yeah, but how can we be off by 14% on something like that?
Because we didn't pay all those salaries.
Ah, thank you. Asked and answered.
And the same thing with Medicare.
Got it. Yeah.
All right, thank
What
you.
what I'm probably gonna do, I'm probably gonna encumber those for future expenses.
Okay. If I could ask the question before you answer what you want to say, accrued sick leave, we see 103,000.
If you remember, we accrued a big number last year in there, and I'm gonna accrue that number this year too. We have some big payments coming up in the future. We're trying to cover those without having to jump the budget up in the future for that.
So are you telling me that we budgeted 174,443
Right?
and we knew we had a little bit of a buffer there for what you are now identifying as a future need?
Last year, when we went through the budget, we had money saved, we had money left over from there. So I encumbered that and I used that until it was used up to cover the first payments I had to make this year. And then the 20,000 came out of the 174.
Got it.
And I'll
Well,
do the
wait.
same thing, this year. I'll probably encumber 150 and we'll use that until it's used up, and then we'll use the budget.
All right, so you're trying to stay ahead of the game is what I'm hearing.
Right.
It's like kind of our own internal OPEB.
Yep, okay.
Right, absolutely. It's a way to try and keep from having to 1 year go from 175,000 to 500,000, put it
Yep.
that way.
Yep.
Got it.
No.
Okay, so tell me more about this 147 of which,
Okay, again, that was the savings I made. Remember I said I hired a consultant last year
I
for
remember.
insurance? That was part of the savings, that he was able to knock it down. And that was done after we had done our budgets.
Okay,
I'll probably encumber that also for future needs.
and since we're gonna be probably talking about this with the public in the future, this is a teacher pension cost that we budgeted 137. We then when we knew that we were going to be charged for it, we transferred money out of this account to the tune of 50 grand. And it brought it down to 87, but we still budgeted 137, but we didn't have to use any of it because the state didn't approve it. So that's how come we got 87 to the good.
Right, and I'll probably encumber some of that also for future needs. Let me make one more point about the insurance, the workman's comp.
Yep.
Our consultant, because he didn't like Kerma's numbers for the new year, put our whole insurance package out to bid, and he came in with a lower bid of $60,000 from Travelers. So we had a special board of selectmen meeting, and they voted to renew our insurance business with Travelers for the new year.
Quick question, with regard to the pensions. Seeing as we have such a sizable surplus on both ends here, revenue and expense, should we consider pensions? If memory serves, I want to say we were in the 70% range funded for both. Maybe bring us up a little higher.
You could do that.
When would be the time to have the discussion on whether to do it and how much to do?
I would do that in the fall. I believe I get the numbers next month at the pension meeting. I would probably have you schedule a special meeting if you want to discuss that. And I'd probably bring in our pension people to discuss it with you.
I think that's an excellent idea.
And probably the pension board also.
Hey,
If
Deb,
we did, wouldn't we want the auditor to look at it too?
Well, I think we'd probably want to get how our financial statements look. Yes, you're probably right.
hey, Deb, let's move this. Remember,
Why don't we start with just getting the numbers?
So those increases were brutal this year, as we know. And you know, PJ makes an excellent point. And if we have surplus and we can fund things ahead of time to keep our costs in the future down, yeah, I would like John said, a special meeting. Eric Henlon, the guy's brilliant, and the auditor, you know, at a future time.
okay, what I would like to propose is that, remember, we had next steps and Deb kept a list, right?
Yes,
Having great ideas at meetings and saying, oh yeah, didn't we say that a couple of months ago? So Deb, would you make sure you create a next step list like you did before? It will be in the notes of the meeting. We know John has the action to do it, but let's just have the way like we did before, which helped us remember stuff and made us better than otherwise not.
And let's not remove the next steps until we all agree that we've resolved the issue.
I second that.
Yep.
All right, nothing, schools we got, we gave them the money, they have it. Insurance, once again, we have insurance over here. I don't think we need all that.
Again,
stuff.
you're seeing some more of the savings, the 47, 46 there.
Yep, and 10. The percentages are just as significant. as 10. And on the 7, you can see.
Yeah, the one
That's,
spot we did run over a little bit, they noticed that on our insurance on the underground storage tanks were a little light.
Yeah, the 1,700.
Yeah. So,
Storage,
yeah.
yeah, 19,
19, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Kevin. Thank you. All right, keeping rolling, we're doing good.
OGAT went over a little bit because they had to televise a few more meetings, you know, to cover our public access when the virus.
You get no argument with me with this Chris kid out down there. Let me tell you that. He's excellent. And he's not only excellent technically, he's committed, which is even harder to find. 9% savings here. There's an other, nothing shakes out radically other than general town reimbursement was at 50%.
You know what, Jim, can I interject one more time?
Wait.
One more thought, not to drag this meeting out any longer, but we consider in the same light, maybe more to the medical self-funded fund in anticipation of what could be medical costs due to the virus.
We must have, I think I missed a couple of your words, PJ.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah,
Should we consider, if we're in anticipation of potentially having higher medical costs, should we consider adding some money to the medical reserve?
Well, we're self-funded, right?
Yeah,
Well, I don't know
Well-
that we know what we have in our medical reserve right now.
but that wouldn't be in fund, taking it with the idea of trying to keep the fund balance number in line.
Well, you got to remember, if you want to put in money from the town side, you got to get the Board of Ed to put it in from the Board of Ed side,
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay.
because it's both of ours.
I see where you're going, PJ. That's not a bad idea. Not sure how your name just morphed back to Patrick, but
Because I had to scramble. I ran out of battery and had to
oh, okay.
get re-invited back in.
I see. Okay, let's see. I'm in the town services and other. I'm about to blow by that and go into debt service. I don't think there's really a hell of a lot to talk about there, but God bless America if you want to. And everything zeroes out. Now, here's the interesting calculation I did. If you take this budget of 72, 157, 952, and you take out of that two education budgets, which in this spreadsheet had zero. In other words, we gave them the amount of money, they spent it all, right? So there's 2 million available budget, which is really a surplus. Says we're over here, we're at 2.8% surplus, right? You get a very different percentage if you take this number here, 2016, I'll call it, and put it over the town budget, which you have to subtract the two education budgets out of there. I happen to do that. And when I did that, and I put this number here over the resulting number, our percentage used for the town budget had a surplus of 7.6. And we have already talked about stuff that's coming in and stuff we're going to encumber for good and just reasons and that. But since I did the calculation, I'm just sharing with you guys, my teammates, all right, what I observed. What it means, I'm not evaluating. I'm just telling you what the math is. Did that come across clear? I'm not sure that I did.
Yeah, no. But we have encumbrances there and we want to,
Peace. Yep.
but Jim, I will agree with you on that part. And that shows our department heads and John, John seems like a nice guy. He's a tough SOB when it comes to money.
I'm cheap.
And he
I
is a
admit it,
great,
I'm cheap.
great steward of our town's finances. I will say that.
But
So.
there's somebody even cheaper than me downstairs.
But it gave me another thought.
But that's what it is. It's a team. Our town, you look at this and there's encumbrances. We got to move things and we know that there's excess costs. But that's the privilege of what we do and with the people in the town of Orange. We don't have people like going out there saying, to spend this or spend that.
Yeah, I have the money. Let's spend it. Yeah.
Keep in line. We got to spend last year's budget or we don't get that. That doesn't happen in our town. It doesn't.
And I didn't even put a spending freeze on for the last month. I didn't think I needed to do it because I thought this group here that work here were pretty mature about not spending the money unless they need it, and they didn't.
No, that's true. And that's why I want the library, encumber that money. They deserve that. We want to keep that going because it's on a reduced budget and they didn't even spend the reduced amount. And, we want to keep that going among other things. And, hopefully things work out. But, it's a pleasurable atmosphere. As stressful as this has been, we have the best people working for us.
No, and I appreciate everybody hanging in, but I thought by going through this once like this, anybody it's hard, right? You look at these documents, oh man, am I gonna go through this really before the meeting? Really? And then you do it and you say, that's easy to do if you just have a cup of coffee and do it. And so anybody who's watching, I don't think there's 1,000 people in town watching, but to the extent that they watch for a few minutes and they see that this is what we do and we're keeping our fingers in it, and John has the answers and we're asking ourselves the questions, I think that's a great strength. I mean, that's what I'm observing, guys, and I thank you for hanging in.
Yeah, Jim, no one's watching anymore.
Not even us.
Hey, PJ, only if they have battery. There's a new rule.
PJ, Whitney's watching because she wants to know when you're gonna.
No, it's late here.
Kevin, what's the Yankees score?
Oh, jeez.
I know, I was having too much
God.
interference. I had to turn it off, John.
Oh,
John, they're winning the pennant. Don't worry about it.
Let's hope so.
well,
Yankees.
if they're in the World Series on the night we're meeting, you'll have
Yeah.
Audrey here.
We might not have a quorum.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, John, in one of the years in the 70s, I was teaching in Western Massachusetts and we had back to school night. I'm looking up your score. And
Yankees
it
won.
got the game 7 that I had tickets to, all right, got postponed and they moved it to another night, which was back to school night. And I couldn't,
Oh,
so I got down, and I lived down near Fenway Park. So I got down there, it was like, I don't know, 9th inning or something like that. It was bad.
Jim, how many sick days did you get as a teacher?
I taught for 6 years. I had 15 sick days per year.
Well, one of them would have been used if I was the teacher.
And I used one. 2-2 is the final, John.
Oh, okay.
Tie?
Tie. I don't know why. I can punch
There's
on
no ties in baseball.
And this year there is.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, wait a minute. The Yankees got one in the 9th on a homer by a guy named Ford.
Oh, okay.
That's a kid
So
from
they tied it
Princeton.
in the bottom of the 9th.
Good, good.
A walk-off tie.
Yeah.
I like that. Good one by you, Kev.
All right, well, I'm gonna add something at the end of this meeting, and then you guys can cut back in. But I know John and PJ, Kevin, we've all been part of the town of Orange for years. My friend Danny Doheny passed away on Saturday morning of brain cancer, unfortunately.
Oof.
He has other relatives in town. Danny graduated with my brother, who was younger than me. And
Oh,
I just, the Doheny family and Danny were like, they're great friends and mentors in my life. Played hockey with them, grew up. I can't go on enough. So I should have done this at the beginning of the meeting to have a moment of silence for him. But I just want to recognize and send my condolences to the Doheny family of Orange for the loss of Danny. And his sisters and everybody else who's still here. So sorry.
That's good. There were 10 of them, Kev.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then the cousins, the other side, with Timmy, who was I think he was involved in North Haven politics on the other, and yeah, no, they're a great family. I mean, it was just, it was like a kick in the nuts when you think of everything going on today, and these young people. I'm 2 years younger than I am, but I'll leave that there, and I'll shift to PJ, who's watching the Yankee game.
Hold on, if I could, before we get to PJ. Kevin, I just saw your comments chat. Thank you for for helping me, and I did not see them till right now. And I have your decals still in the breezeway. If you tell me where you live, I'll drop them in your mailbox.
Yeah, you know, it was funny. I went by your house the other, or I thought it was your house. And then I said, you know what? I don't know the number.
495.
Okay.
Just
I'll get
pull
them-
in, there's
I'll-
cold beer.
I'll
Yeah.
pick them up tomorrow morning.
It's got an orange mailbox, and there's a story behind that goes back decades.
Okay.
That we will tell next meeting.
Thanks, Jim.
Back to PJ.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
40.
Taken by Pat.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you for
everybody.
everything.